This video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. What's up, guys? Michael here, and today we're going to talk about what's perhaps Tom Hardy's finest cinematic work, Venom. Say what you will, and critics certainly did, but something about this movie really resonated with audiences. Granted, that resonance was often overtly sexual, but a win's a win, right? In fact, the sequel's already upon us, absurdly titled Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Amidst all the hype, one talking point has really stuck out to us. Director Andy Serkis, in the actual production notes, characterized the film as a love story between Eddie Brock and the symbiote. Did not see that one coming. And as wild as it may seem, there's precedent here. Searches for the term Symbrock exploded upon the movie's release, with the fandom going to bat for an Eddie and symbiote romance. It's even in the source material. Plenty of comics characterize their bond as straight up love. So what is it about the symbiotic bond of a human being and an alien goo boy that leads people to a romantic interpretation? Is there deeper meaning behind it, or are we just looking for love in all the wrong places? Grab a bowl of
Beetle tots and chocolate
and settle in for this Wisecrack Edition on Venom. A love story? And spoilers for the first Venom movie and some of the comics. But before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to this week's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN helps you secure your data with industry-leading measures by using uncrackable encryption and the most secure VPN protocols. Something I love about Surfshark is how it lets me check out content from around the world that I otherwise wouldn't be able to access. I hate when I read about some amazing show or comedy special from the UK, but can't actually watch it. But with Surfshark VPN, I can simply use one of their servers to log into BBC iPlayer and let the absurdist comedy wash over me. You can also unblock the 15 largest Netflix libraries around the world, and when you're traveling abroad, you can keep up with your favorite trash reality shows from back home. It's a content connoisseur's dream. One subscription will allow you to protect all your favorite devices, and there are apps for all your favorites like PC, Mac, Android, Chrome, Firefox, Amazon Fire Stick, and even your Xbox and PlayStation. Surfshark is fast, easy to use, and jam-packed with features. If you use the link in the description and use the promo code Wisecrack, you can get Surfshark VPN for 83% off its normal annual price plus 3 extra months for free. Go to surfshark.deal/wisecrack or hit the link in the description. Protect yourself online and download Surfshark VPN today. And now, back to the show. Now for a quick recap. Venom follows Eddie Brock, an investigative journalist who's going to every length to take down a mad scientist type, even if it includes snooping on his fiancée Anne's work emails. While investigating, Eddie accidentally merges with an aggressively deep-voiced alien symbiote, aka Parasite, and chaos ensues. So at this point, you're probably thinking, this doesn't sound like the plot of a classic rom-com. But if you take away all the rad action sequences, the film is, at its core, an exploration of two intense relationships, Eddie and Anne, and Eddie and the symbiote. And key to understanding the latter comes in the form of their classic catchphrase,
"We are Venom."
It may seem like simple fan service in the film, but the line is actually very illuminating. See, in his essay, Love's Bond, philosopher Robert Nozick explores the notion of a love union. Specifically, he suggests that being in a romantic pairing, or in this case a shared body bromance, with someone actually results in the formation of a whole new identity. He states, with this continuing romantic love, it feels to the two people that they have united to form and constitute a new entity in the world, what might be called a we. To Nozick, each party keeps their individual identity, with all of its accompanying wants, hopes, and fears. But in fully embracing your partner's identity, you actually combine it with your own. In Nozick's we, the couple feels each other's highs and lows as if they were their own. Through this lens, the ending of Venom becomes more than an amazing action set piece. It's an affirmation of the love between Eddie and the symbiote, and their embrace of the close bond that now defines them. They may be at odds for much of the film.
It is peaceful up here.
I'm not very good with heights.
But when they finally declare,
"We are Venom,"
and their shared face shows half Eddie and half symbiote, it's the first step in forming and growing their new shared identity. It's a literalization of a very real phenomenon that Nozick ascribes to a love relationship, the combining of two separate entities into something new and different, a we. Nozick says this new identity as a we consists of A, the two wanting to be recognized together publicly, B, the partners mutually tending to their collective well-being, and C, a division of labor, which we especially see in the trailer for the sequel.
Ta-da! Catch up!
Excuse me?
But of course, forming a we isn't all fun and games. Nozick also notes that love means your own well-being is tied up with that of someone you romantically love. Love can place you at risk. Though again, it's more of a bromance than sensual long walks on the beach, but we still see the literalization of this phenomenon in Venom. After all, the two literally share a body, an experience which puts Eddie in no shortage of risky situations. And of course, forming any partnership requires making compromises. Nozick writes, people who form a we pool not only their well-being, but also their autonomy. They limit or curtail their own decision-making power and rights. Some decisions can no longer be made alone. And that brings us to the most interesting difference between the film's two central relationships. Compare the way Eddie behaves with the symbiote to the way he behaves with Anne. He makes it clear that he values his own goals and autonomy over hers when he snoops in her inbox. His identity as an investigative journalist is stronger than his identity as a romantic partner, and he fundamentally violates Anne's trust, which ends up costing her her job.
What you did got me fired.
Eddie wasn't willing to compromise for the sake of the relationship, or to consult Anne about such a massive decision. With Venom, however, Eddie takes a decidedly more considerate approach. He is, understandably, freaked out by the symbiote's need to eat people, but compromises nonetheless. He communicates his needs to the symbiote, whether it's his stipulations for who they can harm,
You cannot just go around eating anybody that you want to.
or simply some space to do his journalistic work.
I need you to stay quiet. This is a me thing. It is not a we thing. You got that?
Fine, but make it quick.
And of course, Eddie shares a body with the symbiote, fully surrendering his own physical autonomy. Nozick argues that surrendering some individual autonomy is actually a desirable aspect of being in love, in that you're yielding to your union. We see both the symbiote and Eddie do just that when they commit to sharing the same body. It's noteworthy that the partnership that is Venom ends the film walking off to plan their day together.
We can do whatever we want.
Meanwhile, Eddie's relationship with Anne appears to basically be over, at least for now.
Don't give up on her.
And Nozick's love union doesn't just apply to the movie. It's also been a common thread throughout the history of Venom as a property. The comic book source material has been clear that this bond is more than mere cooperation. In one of their earliest appearances, Eddie says that the symbiote has given him things no girlfriend ever could. As their bond grew, Venom even straight up called their bond a marriage. Nozick states that the heart of the love relationship is how the lovers view it from the inside, how they feel about their partner and about themselves within it, and the particular ways in which they are good to each other. If this is true, then most of what we've looked at so far, from comics to the film adaptation, would point towards Venom being an example of how to exist in a relationship. But unfortunately for anyone using this as a model for their own relationship, that's definitely not the case. They've done truly horrible things to each other in the comics, both while being bonded and apart. The symbiote has implanted false memories into Eddie's brain to compel him to stay, and Eddie has sold the symbiote off to the highest bidder without so much as a discussion. It's safe to say that in the end, their relationship in the comics has been the definition of toxic. And going by Nozick's theory of love, this could come down to one variable not seen in the film: Spider-Man. See, in the majority of the adaptations of Venom's story, the symbiote actually bonds with Spider-Man before he bonds with Eddie. But the feelings are ultimately one-sided, and Spider-Man violently dumps him, leaving him with a burning desire for revenge. This is what drives the symbiote toward Eddie, with the goal of killing Spider-Man. According to Nozick, this would be an untenable foundation for their relationship. Nozick asserts that this desire to form a we for its own sake is key, rather than any sort of transactional or value-based reason. Essentially, if you are forming the we because you want something other than simply to be with your partner, then Nozick argues that it's not really love. In other words, Nozick doesn't think love can be utilitarian. which means you can't really be in love with someone just because they own the fanciest hot dog shop in your town. While in the comics, Venom does end up in some form of loving-ish attachment, this undermines their union from the get-go, and is arguably what leads to their intensely toxic behavior. In contrast, in the movie, the symbiote chooses Eddie out of an appreciation for who he is, not how he can help him get what he wants. So if the core of a relationship is treating each other well, then the movie might show us the best case scenario of Eddie and the symbiote's bond. They ultimately decide to stay together because they share a mutual understanding, even if the symbiote is a bit harsh about it.
I have decided to stay. Wow. On my planet, I am kind of a loser, like you.
They demonstrate genuine empathy and care for each other, and their cooperation lets each of them accomplish far more than they could alone. The film is bookended by Eddie's corner store being robbed. The first time, Eddie stands by helplessly, but the second time, Venom takes action. That's some very ravenous teamwork. And sure, they might bicker sometimes, but what couple doesn't? It's basically when Harry met Sally for the modern era. So does this explain why we just can't resist shipping this unlikely pair? Well, yes and no. Their relationship might closely mirror Nozick's philosophical take on love, but there are complicated truths to contend with. Not to put too fine a point on it, but Venom's essentially a talking pile of gloop. Even peak era Meg Ryan couldn't make that seem romantic. Still, the core of Venom is universal. Two beings get to know each other like no one else, and in turn, they feel like they have to be together. They can tell us that it's a story about revenge or justice all they want, but despite it being between a screwed up has-been and some runny alien Play-Doh, we know love when we see it. But what do you guys think? Can two bros find love in a weird symbiotic relationship? Or are people just weird and willing to romanticize anything so long as it leads to good fanfic? Let us know what you think in the comments. Smash that subscribe button like you're possessed by an intergalactic symbiote, and don't forget to ring that bell. Thanks to our glorious patrons. Be sure to check out our podcast, and as always, thanks for watching. Later.